What if I tell you there was once a country that seemed destined to become one of the greatest powers on Earth? A nation blessed with fertile plains that stretched beyond the horizon, snow-covered mountains that touched the sky, rivers capable of feeding entire civilizations, and enough natural wealth to make almost any country envious. For a brief moment in history, Argentina wasn't simply successful. It stood among the richest nations the world had ever seen. People crossed oceans with nothing more than a suitcase and a dream. Not to reach America, but to reach Argentina. Because at the beginning of the 20th century, few places promised a brighter future. Yet today, when people speak about economic miracles, Argentina is rarely mentioned. Instead, its story has become one of financial collapse, political uncertainty, and opportunities that somehow slipped away. How does a country that once had everything end up spending generations trying to recover? The answer isn't hidden beneath its mountains or buried beneath its endless grasslands. It lies within the choices that shaped its history. And once you understand those choices, you'll never look at Argentina the same way again. Long before modern cities covered the landscape, nature had already given Argentina an extraordinary advantage. To the west, the Andes Mountains rose like an immense stone wall, separating the nation from the Pacific. To the east, the Atlantic Ocean opened a gateway to the rest of the world. Between them lay the Pampas, one of the most fertile regions on Earth. Here, the soil was so rich that crops flourished with remarkable ease. Vast fields produced wheat, corn, and livestock in astonishing numbers. But fertile land alone has never guaranteed greatness. History is filled with countries blessed by nature, yet forgotten by time. Argentina's story became different because geography offered something even more valuable: connection. Its rivers linked the interior with the sea. Its ports welcomed ships from Europe. The country wasn't isolated. It was perfectly positioned to become a bridge between continents, and the world quickly noticed. By the late 19th century, millions of Europeans were searching for a better future. Industrialization had transformed Europe. Cities became overcrowded. Jobs were scarce. Opportunities felt increasingly limited. Then stories began spreading across the Atlantic. Stories of a distant country where land was abundant, work was available, and prosperity seemed almost limitless. That country was Argentina. Families left Italy, Spain, Germany, and many other parts of Europe. Some traveled for weeks across rough seas, chasing nothing more than hope. When they finally reached Buenos Aires, many believed they had arrived at the beginning of a new life. And for countless families, they were right. The capital expanded rapidly. Elegant avenues appeared. Grand theaters welcomed audiences from across the world. Buenos Aires became known as the Paris of South America. It wasn't simply beautiful, it was ambitious, confident, alive. But beneath this remarkable success, a silent weakness was already beginning to grow, one that almost nobody noticed. And decades later, it would change everything. By the early 20th century, Argentina's economy was thriving. Its exports reached markets around the globe. Ships carried grain, beef, leather, and countless agricultural products to Europe. Money flowed into the country. Railways expanded, schools opened, universities attracted brilliant minds. For many observers, Argentina appeared unstoppable. Imagine hearing that prediction today. It almost sounds impossible, but at the time, it seemed completely reasonable, because every sign pointed toward continued success. Yet history rarely follows the path people expect. Sometimes, the greatest danger arrives when everything appears to be going perfectly, and Argentina was about to discover exactly that. The First World War changed international trade. Then came the Great Depression. Markets collapsed. Countries that depended heavily on exports suddenly found themselves facing uncertainty. Argentina was one of them. Its prosperity had been built upon selling products to the world. Now, the world could no longer buy as it once had. Factories slowed, businesses struggled, confidence began fading. For the first time in generations, the future no longer felt guaranteed. One path required difficult reforms, the other promised quick solutions. History remembers which path was chosen. There is an old saying, the hardest choices often appear during the easiest times. Argentina had enjoyed decades of extraordinary success. The economy had become deeply dependent on agricultural exports. More often, it changes so slowly that almost nobody notices. At first, Argentina's future still looked incredibly bright. Its fields continued feeding distant nations. Ships still departed from Buenos Aires carrying wheat, beef, and grain across the Atlantic. From the outside, the country still looked like one of the world's greatest success stories. But appearances can be remarkably convincing, because beneath Argentina's growing confidence, a quiet transformation had already begun, one that would shape the country's future for generations. Here's what most people never realize. Argentina didn't lose everything overnight. It happened one decision at a time. Competition became stronger, technology advanced, industries evolved. But Argentina faced a difficult question. Should it continue relying on the world, or should it try to build everything on its own? The second option sounded promising. If the country produced more goods at home, it could depend less on foreign markets. New factories appeared, local industries expanded, jobs were created. For a while, the strategy seemed to work. Confidence returned. The future once again felt full of possibility. But every solution creates a new challenge. As industries grew, keeping them competitive became increasingly difficult. Then came the moment that changed how ordinary people experienced everyday life. Not through war, not through invasion, but through something invisible, something every family carries in their pocket: money. Imagine working an entire month, receiving your salary, only to discover that it buys less than it did a few weeks earlier. Imagine saving for years, only to watch those savings slowly lose their value. For many Argentines, this became part of everyday life. Families stopped making long-term plans. Business owners became cautious. The country's greatest challenge was no longer producing wealth. It was rebuilding confidence. Because economies are built on more than factories, or farmland, or natural resources. They are built on trust. And trust, once broken, takes years to restore. Yet, if you visit Argentina today, you'll discover something unexpected. You won't find a nation defined only by its struggles, the rhythm of tango echoing through historic streets, the frozen beauty of Patagonia, the thunder of Iguazú Falls, and landscapes so extraordinary, they seem almost untouched by time. Despite every challenge, Argentina never lost the things that made it remarkable. Its culture, its creativity, its passion, its people. Perhaps that's the real story of Argentina. Not the rise, not the fall, but the resilience that followed. History also handed it extraordinary challenges. It experienced moments of remarkable prosperity. Yet through every chapter, Argentina continued moving forward, but always with hope that tomorrow could be better than yesterday. And perhaps that is the lesson hidden within Argentina's story. Great nations are not remembered because they never struggle, even after history has tested them again and again. Because in the end, the measure of a country is not how many times it falls, it's whether it still has the courage to rise. And Argentina is still writing the next chapter of its story.